Welcome. Thank you for joining us for an informational session on the voting at Hideaway Hills. I'm Mary Beth Fisher. I'm one of the board members, and this is Jim Sigafus. He's the chairman of the management committee. We received tons of questions from our members, and we really appreciate everyone's interest and participation. As a result of the number of questions we received, we decided we need to break this down into segments. So today's segment is mostly an introductory kind of segment for new members and to cover some general information about the vote that's coming up, how to go about doing it, what's on the table, and we'll add additional segments to answer specific questions as we go. Jim, jump in on any time when you feel you want to add something to anything I say.
Okay, thank you.
We are volunteers. We are not employees of Hideaway Hills. So we have to look into the questions you send us to make sure we're giving you proper information. So be patient with us. There is an annual membership meeting on August 16th. There will be registration starting at 1 p.m. for this meeting, and the meeting actually begins at 1:30 p.m. The board president at the annual meeting will do a general discussion about pertinent topics going on at Hideaway Hills right now. Then members can appear at the meeting to vote on the issues that are going to be presented. Voting closes at 3:30, so make sure you're there before then if you'd like to vote. Usually this meeting occurs at the lodge, but because we need to remain COVID compliant, there could be some changes. So stay tuned, and anything that changes about the meeting or the location, we will get out to the membership that information right away. I did see there was some discussions today on Facebook about people concerned that they wouldn't have a chance to meet because the meeting might be canceled. You have the opportunity to have an absentee ballot, but we will also make sure that people that do not have that and plan to come to the meeting have an opportunity to vote. So we'll be figuring that out as it comes up. Jim, do you agree with that?
Yes, we are going to have an annual meeting one way or another. It may just be a very spread out meeting with, masks for people working the registration, but we will have a meeting. It just won't be in the lodge packed in there.
It won't be the typical meeting.
Yes. I would anticipate probably the amphitheater or the shelter house.
Perfect. Okay. So I think that'll answer a lot of their questions. Now, at this meeting, there are going to be 3 topics that people can vote on. The first is board members. There are 9 board members. 4 seats will be available this year, and you'll have an opportunity to vote for the persons filling those seats. The first 3 highest votes will fill a seat for 3 years. The highest seat.
3 years.
What did I say?
You said 30 years.
30.
That would be a terrible sentence.
You're not kidding. Okay. Thank you for that correction. Yes, 3 years, not 30. Oh, we wouldn't survive that. Anyway, so the 3 highest votes will serve for 3 years, and the 4th highest vote will serve for 1 year, filling the seat of the member that just resigned recently. The bios for the candidates are included in the June Echo on the Hideaway Hills website. That's at hideawayhillsclub.com. And the people running this year are Jeff Barron. I hope I say Marty's last name correctly. Marty Bendakis. Cheryl Burnside, Jim Krieger, Eric Lapp, Linda Lonzinger, and Cabot Ray. So those are the candidates. The second issue we are voting for is the assessment increase. That's what you'll probably hear quite a bit about. In 2004, the assessments at Hideaway Hills were $128. In 2020, they were $171.05. This is an increase of $2.69 per year. It's not enough to keep up with our needs, and Hideaway Hills is really feeling it right now. I'll let Jim go more into how we are negatively impacted by not keeping up our financial needs here. But we are really, really needing this assessment to pass, just to keep the place beautiful and well-maintained, our infrastructure and our health and our accounts healthy. So the way that would change on ballot issue number 2 is effective September 1, 2020 through May of 2021, the normal lot assessment would increase by $30, plus any scheduled CPI increase that would be effective on January 1, 2021. Effective June 1, 2021, the normal lot assessment would increase by an additional 10. So it would go up 30, and then it would go up slightly, very so slightly, by the CPI or Consumer Price Index in January of 2021, and then $10 in June 1, 2021. We don't expect the CPI, which is the normal rate of increase here, to be virtually anything this year because it's tied to fuel prices and consumer goods. So it's really down right now. These prices, these amounts were agreed to by management and board. However, we received guidance from the community through the member advocacy group that met, and they discussed and researched the finances at Hideaway Hills for quite a while, for months. It was a nice cross-section of the population here, and they made recommendations of the 30-10 increase. And also they made recommendations regarding the percentage changes to the number 3 issue on the ballot. And I'll go into that now. So the new member, when you're a new member here, you pay a new member fee, which equals 2 years of your normal lot assessment. Right now, that's typically around $4,000. Is that right, Jim?
Yes, I think it's a little over 4 right now. It goes up with the CPI every year.
Okay, so that new member fee, half of it was going to what we call the amenities fund. And so we had a lot of really big years with sales at Hideaway Hills. So the amenity fund was huge. Last year, it was in the 149,000 ballpark. So that money goes to the amenity fund, which basically goes to our committees to operate all of these great things we offer at Hideaway Hills. However, because it was so high, this member advocacy group, the board and management, all agreed that perhaps we should put a cap on that. And still those committees would have money to access, and we'd change it from 50% to 40% going to the amenity fund with a cap of $75,000. That would allow 10% to continue to go to road assessments, but the extra money would go into the general fund account. And that way we could use that money where we could have been using that money actually, but we weren't allowed because of the vote. But we could use that money to properly fund some of the accounts that are currently underfunded, like capital, depreciation, employee insurance, and to get those up to a healthy amount where we have some kind of cushion for future purchases that we need for our employees and to sustain Hideaway Hills. So that also could go towards ditches and culverts, which aren't covered in the road assessment. I think a lot of people think that road assessment also covers ditches and culverts, but I understand that does not, and it comes out of the general fund. Is that accurate?
Usually we use road funds by the culvert pipes, but then our maintenance guys will install them, and we don't usually charge that to the road fund. The ditches, if they're just going on cleaning them, that's just general operating. We do buy asphalt sometimes to shore up the ditch areas around the roads, and then we do use road funds for that. So it's sort of a mixed bag.
So having that extra money go into the general fund can apply also to help our road situation, which I think everybody knows in pretty bad way right now. So that is the second, or that's the third part of the ballot issue. And when I talked about the absentee ballots, if you cannot make it to that annual meeting or you do not want to, please, 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 please request an absentee ballot now. You have to bring, if you're coming to the meeting, you got to bring your membership card with you. Whether you come to the meeting or not, you cannot get an absentee ballot or vote if your assessment and dam payments are not current through July 2020. Your road assessment payment has to be current through July 2020 also to get an absentee ballot or to vote. If you want to request an absentee ballot, there's a few ways you can do that. Go to the website at hideawayhillsclub.com under quick links, and you can print the form on page 22 of the July Echo, or simply email the office at hahoffice@hahclub.net and just say, please send me an absentee ballot, give them your name and lot number. This year, if you do request an absentee ballot and you have a permanent address outside of Hideaway Hills, they're going to do the postage prepaid for you. If you're inside Hideaway Hills, it will not be postage prepaid, I believe. So you can return it in several ways. If it's postage prepaid, obviously put it in your mailbox. We really want everybody to vote and use your voice. There is also a black locked mailbox at security as you're exiting at the main security gate, and you can drop it right in there. At any time, if it's an absentee ballot before 4:30 p.m. on Friday, August 14th. You can also leave it at the office anytime the office is open, and I believe there's a mail slot next to the office door that you can put it in also. Again, before August 14th at 4:30 p.m. If you request an absentee ballot, you cannot vote at the annual meeting. So please remember that. And I'm going to turn it over to Jim to talk about some of the financial stuff. And I think that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Mary Beth. So I'm going to go through some general discussion about the funds at Hideaway Hills. And I think we're going to send out tomorrow when we post this. The MAG committee had done a really awesome diagram of like, where does our funds come from and where do we spend it? But I'm going to kind of talk through a little bit of that here tonight, just so people have a really good understanding, like, where do we take in funds and where do we how do we spend it? So HA's primary source of revenue is from member paid monthly assessments, annual road assessment, and new member fees. The monthly assessments are used primarily for the operations of our club. Our monthly assessments total on an annual basis approximately $1.6 million. These monthly assessments are used to fund payroll, benefits, insurance, utilities, and taxes. These items alone make up about 50% of our expenditures, and these items must be paid first. The annual road fund is entirely used for maintenance of our roads, including chip and seal, the moto pave, asphalt repairs, and the guard posts you see along our curves. In addition, we collect a new member fee for every new member that Mary Beth spoke about earlier. And by our code, 50% of that fee goes into an amenity funds, which we'll discuss a little bit later. 10% goes into our road fund, and the remaining 40% goes into operations. And as Mary Beth mentioned, there is an item on our voting this year to cap that, so that more of that money would go into operations and less into the amenities. But we still wanted to give our committees an opportunity to have some funds to do some projects with. So, I mean, one of the questions I hear is, why hasn't the CPI increase kept pace with our costs? So the CPI increase is an annual increase that is built into our code to help offset the ever rising costs to run the club, including wages, health insurance, equipment costs, etc. In the last several years, the CPI has not increased significantly, primarily as fuel prices have decreased in the last few years. and therefore the club has not experienced a significant increase in assessment funding. For example, in our 2020 budget, we only budgeted $24,000 of increase due to the CPI increase. And if you literally look at when you just take wages alone, as you know, employees want to get a raise, that wipes out that whole 24,000 pretty quickly. So what does not get paid out of our assessment dollars? So the first thing is the amenities funds. As part of the new member fee I spoke about earlier, 50% of the fee, around $2,000 per new member, goes into the amenity fund. And by our code, these funds must be earmarked for the 26 or so board-sponsored committees and are allocated in an annual process that happens about the 1st of December. The committees submit their project requests, and based upon the available funds, the projects are prioritized and approved. The Health and Wellness Center improvements were completed partially with amenities funds in 2020. In addition, the $35,000 spent on the clubhouse generator was a result of the golf committees submitting a request to this process. Without changing the code, this process will continue, and the membership will be voting on an August change to cap this fund at $75,000. Then there's also committee expenses. So the 26 board-sponsored committees have their own fundraisers, including the 50-50 raffles at the concerts, the deck tours, the tadpole tournaments, etc. These funds are controlled by the committees with oversight from the Board of Trustees. These funds cannot be spent by the management committee for operations. Committees spend the funds, but they have to have approval from the Board of Trustees to spend those funds. And then we do have one-off fundraisers that periodically happen. On occasion, there's one-off fundraisers for specific projects that people have a passion for. So for example, this would be the lodge deck was all a fundraiser, and the beach stand that just got done by a member. These funds are always put in a separate bank account and can only be used for the donated purpose. So one of the great things about our community is people will donate. So how does the board and management committee put together an annual budget? So on an annual basis, the members of the management committee put together a detailed annual budget based on last year's actual numbers, with updates for known changes such as wage increases and CPI adjustments, as well as some of the assumptions for increases in known expenses. If the management committee cannot make the budget work to generate enough cash to fund our depreciation and capital counts, then we must make cuts to the budget. This budget is then presented to the board at the January board meeting for approval. So another question I know keeps floating around is, why were the budget cuts, including the lodge closing, security personnel, recycling, summer maintenance help, not communicated during the prior assessment increase process? So at the time of the annual meeting and voting on the assessment increase last year, the annual budget had not been completed to know how much we needed to cut out of the annual budget. When the budget was finally put together, it became apparent that more drastic cuts needed to be made than anticipated. Thus, the decision was made to close the lodge, remove recycling, cut down to 1 security guard at night, and not hire seasonal maintenance help. Now, as we talked about the donations earlier, one great thing is our community came together with the Save Our Security program, and we're able to raise enough money to keep that night security guard. So we had 2 security guys at night, or 2 security guards at night. So now we move on to some specific member asked questions. When will the deck on the lodge be opened? So as mentioned previously, the deck project on the lodge is being 100% funded with donated funds. There is no club operating funds or amenity funds being used for that project. There were issues with one of the contractors that poured the deck footers incorrectly. There's been a remediation plan developed, and the primary contractor is expected to begin work soon on the project. Okay, next question.
Can I interrupt you just a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
I sort of vaguely remember there might have been a little bit of amenity fund on the deck lodge for perhaps furniture. Does that?
That could be correct. I think the Food Fund and Fellowship Committee may have got some funds for furniture.
So that would all be from new member fees?
That would be from the amenities process, exactly.
Correct. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I clarified that. Thanks.
Right. Next question. Will the operations of the new Health and Wellness Center be paid for out of the assessment increase? And that answer is no. The assessment increase will not be used to pay for the Health and Wellness Center operations. The Health and Wellness Committee will be working on developing its business plan to operate that facility with member donations, volunteer labor, fundraisers, and possibly amenities funds. But they will not have no portion of the assessment increase will go toward operating that facility. Next question came in today. Will recycling come back if the assessment increase passes? I'm not 100% certain that'll be a management committee decision, but we'd anticipate bringing back the recycling to Hideaway Hills as a service to our members. I know it was widely popular and it was rough to get rid of it, but it was a decision we had to make. Next question. Will the lodge reopen if the assessment increase passes? The question I read more than anything. The plan is to reopen the lodge if the assessment increase passes. The management committee is working with the food service committee on a reopening plan that will involve some remodeling of the bar and dining room area to better serve the membership increased revenue. We'd like to be able to open the lodge bar up with no food service as soon as the COVID-19 guidelines allow, and then close it back down in January for remodeling and target mid to late March to reopen. The goal by remodeling is to better serve our members and boost the number of members using a facility and increase revenue. Keep in mind, this is an amenity for our members. We do allow some outside people to come dine, but it's a very small amount. As with any amenity, there will be a cost to operate the facility. We're hoping to keep this cost to a manageable amount, but captive food service operations and clubs like ours do not make money. They are an amenity for the members to enjoy. And hoping in future time we'll be able to share that reopening plan with the membership. I just want to pass it through the food service committee one more time.
You also, Jim, can I interrupt one more time?
Absolutely.
You had hoped, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you would be able to have maybe some, like you did with the dam, you'd be able to have some kind of picture of what the lodge will look like after renovations, and that's part of what you're hoping to be able to present at some point.
Yes, we're hoping before the annual meeting, if we have a live Q&A or discussion, the members of the food service committee are all submitting drawings of like kind of renderings of what the lodge area would look like after a remodel with an expanded bar area, maybe some TV. So we've got a lot of really good members on that committee that have experience in food service and are coming up with some great ideas. I'm already pretty amazed at how quickly they come up with some renderings of what that area could look like to better service our membership. So you drive by there and sometimes you'll see a lot of cars, and you look in the dining room, it looks pretty empty, and everybody's packed into the bar. So we want to try to expand the bar area, open up a door or window to serve the lodge deck, and try to take full advantage of the space we have.
Get some TVs in there, maybe?
Some more TVs, take advantage of the Blue Jackets games when they get back to running. Any type of sporting event will draw people in. Work together with the clubhouse to have our Ohio State games broadcast, so that we really can take advantage and get people back into the mode of coming into our lodge. So
will there be, you think part of what this new person who's being hired in, their job will be to have event planning, like more activities there for the membership than we'd had in the past?
Correct. And when we share that plan, it'll be kind of detailed out. But
okay.
The new food service general manager will be a food service manager of people, and what they will do is they'll coordinate the events at the clubhouse and the lodge, and work with the Food Fund Fellowship Committee for events at the lodge, and possibly the golf course committee for events at the golf course, so that we can really take advantage of, you know, getting people in there for our bigger events, whether it be a small concert at the clubhouse, shelter house, or a, you know, comedy night at the lodge. But those are big nights for us when we can do those events. So
Good. Thank you.
all right, the next question: will it reopen if the assessment increase does not pass? So I've read this question a number of times on Facebook. I think we even have people email it to us. I'll just say I do not have a crystal ball for this answer. I would hope we could work out a plan to reopen the lodge bar with no food services and keep it open as long as we can keep it breaking even or close to break even. We're not in a position to lose money, spend money at this time. If the assessment increase does not pass, it's unlikely the lodge food service will reopen in 2021. It would more likely be 2022 before we'd be able to reopen that amenity. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm just crunching the numbers, and you know, there's a cost to run that lodge, and right now it would be pretty tight to be able to run that amenity in 2021.
And people talk about the lodge losing money. Is that, that seems, I've heard it is an inaccurate way to portray it, because it's like we pay for other amenities like the golf course and the clubhouse and the lodge and the barn. And a lot of those cost us money, but it's not really a loss to us. We're providing a service to the community. Is that accurate?
That is correct. It's a cost because, you know, it's the same way the golf course, you know, it costs us, well, we'll have that. We're trying to work together with the office to get the full amount of what we spend on all of our amenities for 2019, so that people can see, hey, yeah, there's a cost to run the lodge, but there's also a cost to run the golf course. There's a cost to run the pool. There's a cost to have security. There's a cost to have, you know, our maintenance guys in here plowing the roads. That's what you pay for. That's what you pay for when you have a plate of property here. So I think it goes back to, we condition people to see it as a loss because we publish the financial statements, which are always available, but it's in a standard P&L format that comes down to a net income or loss, but it always says net loss.
Yeah.
But it's really just a cost to run the operation. You know, country clubs have this same kind of situation. They want to provide a food service operation, whether it be a bar or dining area for their members. They know they're not going to make money on it because it's a captive audience. You really don't get a lot of outside people coming in spending money. So you're really serving your membership. So it's
Right.
really more, people have to think of it as a cost to run that, have that food service here for our membership. And that's, if you think of it that way and look at it and say, well, if we spend $100,000 annually, that's really a pretty good bargain as an amenity that we go up there, meet our friends, we can get a drink and drive, you know, not risk the DUI driving home from Lancaster.
Right.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Not advocating drinking and driving. If we can just go in there and enjoy ourselves, there's a cost to that. It's the same as the cost to open the pool and pay for the lifeguards. Same cost to the golf course. There is a cost to everything we do, and that's just how we have to think of it.
Right. There's a lot of people that have given feedback that that's the only amenity or one of the two amenities that drew them here. And so if we can find a way to do that and provide for, and they don't use all the other amenities, but they're happy for them because they love the lodge or they love the lake or whatever it is, the horse barns or the shooting range. So yeah, it'd be good if we could get that back.
And hopefully we can get, get the deck completed. We can get the outdoor seating so that in the summer you can come off the lake, you can go up there and get a beer or a soda and some food, and you can sit there and enjoy the evening with your friends and really get back to what a lot of members enjoy doing, is just enjoying the lodge and being there with the, seeing all their friends out there on the decks or inside the bar area, and
Right.
really using that as a central meeting place.
And Jim, did you say, I know you said you were working with the office to try and get the list of amenities, the cost to each amenity. Is that so we can give it to the membership before the vote so they
Yeah.
can see how much we pay for each amenity?
Yes, and we'd like to get that sent out, hopefully sent out here before our next YouTube presentation, but definitely before the vote, so people understand that, yeah, there's a cost to run the lodge, but there's also a cost to run security, there's a cost to run maintenance, and try to give people an idea where their money is going to, so they don't think, well, they're just squandering it away on, this or that. Well, there actually is a cost to everything that we operate here. I don't use the barn, and I rarely use the pool, but I'm fine when I'm paying for that. I know I'm paying for that stuff, and that's how you have to kind of look at it.
Right.
I use the golf course or the lodge and or the lake a lot, but I don't. You never use everything, but it's part of what you buy in here for. So.
Yeah, just to keep it it's pretty amazing, really, community, what it provides for good value. I'm wondering also, maybe we should let them know, and I know you're going to continue with your financials, but the financials that are published by management and the monthly meetings and that worksheet that we talked about that explains how the funds go to different buckets, those are all available on the Hideaway Hills website under financials. If you want to go to those and check out our financials. I don't know, do you know exactly does management put their monthly notes on there? Do you know?
We do not have monthly notes out there. They publish the monthly operating results. I'm looking now just to refresh my memory. We publish the monthly operating results, and what that operating results does is it takes out, like we talked about the board, the committee expenses and income from like social committee and the shooting range committee. It takes all that out and says, here's our actual operating cash flow. I believe that it all gets published out there, but I can't find it right at the moment.
That's okay. Well, members can go
to
find it under
put it out on our
financials.
website. I think it's under the members information and club financials. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, the monthly operating reports are out there. So. Okay, continue on. Here's another question I see pop up, and I've had members actually ask me this, is why can't members vote on specific parts of the assessment increase? Say, for example, $10 a month for security and additional wages, $10 a month for the lodge, and $10 a month for equipment financing. So I'm going to do my best on this one. This is pretty tricky to explain, but think of it this way. You are not voting on an assessment increase. You're voting on a change to the Hideaway Hills code that results in an increase to the monthly assessment outside of the CPI increase already built into the code. So if members were to be able to vote on specific parts to the assessment increase, we would have to write up draft code language for every scenario of how it would pass, and then members would vote on that. And this would not only be confusing to try to figure out what you're actually voting on, but it would be pretty much impossible to get a 66 2/3 passage of one specific code change. So, I know people would love to be able to vote on sections, but the way the code, it's in the code that way. So you have to vote on the code change. And so it gets really tricky to try to vote on part of one and not the other. I'm not sure how we would legally do that. I do defer to the attorneys, but I'm sure somebody could draft it up that way. But it'd be very confusing to vote on and understand what you're voting on. If the assessment increase does not pass, will there be additional budget cuts in 2021? Again, while I'd love to have a super clear answer, at this point I do not. The budget cuts that we made last year have helped our operating cash flow tremendously, and we have made significant headway in catching up on our underfunded accounts. In addition, the management committee is taking a hard look at every expense possible to make sure that first we need to spend the money, and if it's absolutely necessary, then we make sure we get the best prices possible. We are hopeful that by continuing to focus on spending and running our operations as lean as possible, we can avoid any further cuts. But again, I can't guarantee that till we actually do the budget. So that's all I have prepared for tonight. I'm hoping we can record another one of these YouTube presentations in a couple of weeks. And we can continue to answer members' questions that we've got. We've got a pretty good bank of questions. You know, some of the things I want to cover is how the assessment increase will be spent. How are we going to fund up our capital depreciation amenities funds? I can talk through how we come up with those targets, and then, you know, how did we end up with such a financial backlog? And then how do we use that to, you know, help purchase some of the club equipment that we desperately need to replace.
Maybe on some of the questions, since we received so many questions, and some of them we may not be able to get to quickly, we might be able to send out an e-blast and put on the Hideaway Hills Facebook page some of your answers that we found in our research. And that might be another way we communicate. But we'll try and get to all of your questions, and just be patient with us, because we both work full-time jobs, and we commented that our full-time jobs are getting in the way of our volunteer job.
Volunteer job.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I know people would love to do like a question and answer with YouTube. It's just, it's hard. It's really hard to be somewhat prepared when you're just trying to read a question and give an answer. You know, as Mary Beth said, we're both volunteers. I don't have the full club financials and at my fingertips. I have to go research and ask for things and put things together to try to give good answers. I don't like to give somebody information that's not correct. So we might be able to do some more question and answer, like if we could do a in person, but right now this is kind of the best we can do. And so I encourage you to keep sending questions. Some of them are repeats, but some of them we're getting some good thought-provoking questions.
Yeah, please keep sending the questions. We love that everyone's interested, and I think we received more than we thought we would. But yeah, we will get to your answers. Anything else, Jim?
No, I think that's all I have for tonight.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Bye. Bye-bye.